you know, I've always kept up with the whitewater market, and right now, I mean, it looks like I don't know, man. I mean, I really think right now we're just riding the wave of like, the 9R is still hot. The Nirvana is a really great boat. The Phantom's a really great boat. That seems to, and the Machno seems to be doing like it's taken. If you notice, the Machno's doing that slow. I think you paddle one, right? And
Oh
it's got
yeah.
like a. I think people are really starting to find out how good that boat really is because it's funny. I mean, the Nomads were out. We had finished up the Nomads and we started on the Phantoms, and we were like on version 3 or 4 of the Phantom, whichever one. And I remember seeing the first Machno out, and I was like, wow. I said that right there is a boat to finally compete with the Nomad as far as a that full on creeker. Not necessarily like a specific like a race style boat or
hmm
like it. I mean, it looks really good. I was like, they done a really good job. And then for whatever reason, the thing just did not sell.
Well, I think
Like,
Piranha shot themselves in the face. Because what they did was they went out there in their marketing and were like, 9R Creek boat, 9R Creek boat, 9R Creek boat. Have you heard about the 9R Creek boat? And it's not. It's not. And so
no,
people just saw it for the first time when it wasn't that first black silhouette, and just went like, well, that's not what the cool kids are using. And then in an interesting turn of events, they did not put their pro team in it. The pro team continued in the
in nine
9R
R's.
for the entire
Everybody loved it.
season.
They hit a home
Yeah.
run. They hit a home run with that 9R. And I talked to several of the pro guys here in the Southeast, and they're like, they got Magnos, and they were like, mm-mm, mm-mm. They were selling them and going back to their 9Rs.
Yeah,
It just
well,
did everything so good. It was just
guess how
such a
the
great boat.
retailers felt about that. Let me tell you.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Let me tell you. Uh, yeah, it's definitely a slow burn. I think I decided this winter, and I tried to do it the other day, but we actually did really well this year, and we just don't literally have a full fleet of like every half slice, every creeker, so it just wasn't even worth trying. But
Yeah,
I think what I'm gonna do every year is, just pull every creeker we have and line it up, and take a pan, of the deck and of the stern of the hull,
yeah.
because that would just save me so much arguing with people online. Uh, because we got that thing and basically drug mine around the yard and went, what is this? Because it's not what it was supposed to be, and realized instantly it's 95% a Newmad, which we were both paddling already, and we were like, oh,
Yeah, exactly.
this is gonna be sick.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, you knew as long as because a Nomad, I'm obviously biased towards a Nomad, but it really came out as one of the best creekers I had ever paddled, and I had paddled like a lot of different creekers. Now that doesn't say there's other things coming down the road, but it's like at that time I was like, wow, they gave us a mission, and it's funny because all the guys out west, you notice they weren't paddling them, so we
no,
sent
because they
like.
got pushed around in them. Whereas for us on the east, it made perfect
Uh,
sense.
and I was like, what's the mission here? And it was to go off that lineage of the original Nomad 8.5. And I was like, wow, and I mean, that boat had been in rotation for freaking 12 years, whatever. It was been around forever. And it was such a great boat. So there was a lot of things that we learned from prototyping the Phantom that we integrated in that early Nomad and just kind of went from there. And it was basically how we flattened out the tail a little bit to get a little more kind of that squash out, but didn't want to do it as much. So that way you still had that southeast flare booth that we
hmm
like to do out here.
Which
We
is its
love to use,
specialty. That boat does
yeah,
it so well.
yeah, and that's one of my favorite moves is like to come off a rock and just ride and flare off. You can't do that with an edge because if you got an edge, you can't do that turn and flare off. And that's what makes that boat so well. And then with that rounded off stern, it comes off a thing so smoothly too. So I really liked how the Nomad series turned out, the small, medium, large Nomads.
Yeah, and that's a lot of why a lot of my commentary going back the last couple of years has been like, I know the hot thing is to put big edges on stuff and just to drop 9 foot race boats, but realize that while that works on everything out west, it does not work on everything
Yeah.
on the east side or probably in the Alps or wherever. It doesn't work for everything. It sucks for a lot of stuff.
And
There's nothing like coming to a lip and locking on sideways and being stuck there.
yeah, man, it's like, and so I went out west, and on that big volume stuff, on like North Fork of the Payette and the Little White and all that, when it was running big volumes, I took a Nomad and a Phantom. Right away, that Nomad got shelved, baby. After one lap out on the Little White, so it was like maybe a little over 4 feet, which was like huge, and I was like, I was getting pushed around everywhere. And then the next day I got in the Phantom prototype. It just went so smoothly. Where I get it. I get it when you watch the videos of like, you'll see like these videos of like Ben Maher, Russ Sturgis, and they're out there in Nirvanas, and they're just kind of like, they're out there in those Wakas. And you're like, oh, we don't experience that as much here in the Southeast. And, you just see them coming out of things and just gliding out so smoothly. But I get it. I got it as soon as I got out there. I was like, wow, now I see how beautiful the Phantom is. Where out here in the Southeast, I still like the Phantom a lot. I like the Nirvana too. It's like it's just a weird for me. It seems like I don't know the way our rivers are just made up. Even like the Northeast where you're at, a boat like the Machno and Nomad seem more like what you need. It seems more fit to bill.
Yeah, we're kind of a weird test case because we paddle everything at every flow. Like the variation that I paddle is the same creek bed from 100 CFS to 5,000 CFS.
Yeah.
So there are times where I need that full displacement, beat the bejesus out of it.
Yeah.
And there are times when I need the edges and the speed and the flare out of holes. So that's basically been why the Machno has been the one go-to the whole way through. But you'll see me rotate around, and the hardest time I have in being a point person that paddles a lot of stuff, because it's a rare position to be in, is that I'm always getting these Swiss Army knife questions. No, I want this one boat that like
do it
loops and runs 40 footers, and like it's just you just can't win.
Yeah. Yeah, have you? And I think I'm pretty sure Piranha has a 9R2 coming out.
They do, which they have been keeping so close to the vest, it's maddening. And we put, it was supposed to be out a while ago. Like,
yeah, I think it looked like what they had done. They shelved it for the Ripper.
Yeah, well, I think based on what we could see was that we couldn't. I think they just underestimated what they were going to put out in quantities, and they basically, it might wind up being a good thing because they wound up had time for another proto or two because they literally couldn't get it in the oven anyway.
Yeah.
That was the way it felt here was that they just couldn't get it in the oven fast enough. It does look really interesting that it looks like the 9R is getting Machnoed after all of that.
Yeah,
like
it's almost
full circle.
Like they've merged them together and trying to find that happy medium of the Machno meets the 9R.
Which I'm super excited about because what they really needed was a Machno medium large. And I'm hoping that the 9R2 is just going to go right in there because the 9RL was a different boat. So, like what Jackson got right from that lesson was we're going to make a Nirvana large that's going to be 9.5, right? Like we're genuinely going to scale. We're not going to put junk in the trunk and hope for the best.
Yeah, I guess the 9R came in two sizes, and a lot of people don't even know that. There's a large 9R and a small 9R, and all they stayed at that 9-foot barrier. They restricted themselves and swelled it up. That doesn't always translate well. And Jackson figured that out. It was like, you know what? Screw the race limits. Let's just do 9.4.
Well, and as an event organizer, do you think I'm really going to tell somebody they got to go spend another $1,200 so that they can compete at my race? No.
Yeah,
no.
Exactly.
No.
Exactly. And it's like,
there's no advantage if you're a small guy trying to cram into a 9RL versus a 9R. Like, you're going to get destroyed.
Yeah, exactly.
So what do I care? We're all out here for fun anyway. No one's only
Yeah.
Adrian gets carbon race boats in a 9 foot category. So
Yeah, so yeah, well, I've got stories on that too, but we'll leave that for another
leave
one.
that one line.
I know all about that, but that's a whole other show.
Yeah, Did you spend any time in the Nirvana L? Because with me getting sick, that was the only boat I didn't get to this year.
No, I paddled the Nirvana pretty much, but I've never been in the large Nirvana.
So I
Uh,
spent a bunch of time in the Nirvana last year, basically until I had to get out of it because we were out of them and they were gone. Um,
did you not
and
think it was too big? Did it
no,
not feel like it
so
was
I
gonna
was
swallow you?
I was heavier then.
Oh, okay,
So
okay.
I felt really good in it, which surprised me because it was supposedly a medium, and I thought it was a medium large, which was for me is always fantastic because I am in a medium large world. So
Yeah,
uh, my concern though is always with flat bottom boats after the karma that I am going to, and I'm not taking a pot shot at anybody here, but a flat bottom creek boat you're going to destroy. And I've seen it. I mean, the number of
yeah,
9Rs we warranty, the number of karmas we warranty, it doesn't
yeah.
matter. It's a materials thing. Flexing a flat piece of plastic never ends well.
Yeah, because I mean, that's one of the things. Several manufacturers have found this lesson out all too hard, like the Stomper and things like that. The design of the hull and the chines can actually like accelerate crack, like weak spots. So like the molding, if you come into hard edges, that like you said, if you got a flat hull, then you come out and you flatten out and you've got this hard chine going down, you're never going to get enough resin in that corner to really hold up, and it's just going to constantly keep flexing every time it hits something, and eventually you're going to break that nice rounded shape is going to last you forever. I mean, well, I wouldn't say forever. It'll last you way longer than a boat that like a boat with a hard edge. I think this current version, like the Phantom and the Nirvanas, I really like that because it's got kind of that flat edge chine on it, and I think they did a good job of kind of merging those two together pretty well.
How long
I
do you
don't
think before they round out the seats to match? Because like the reason I think that the Stomper wasn't an inherently weak shape. The problem to me always seemed to
was the
be
seat
the bridging as it
of the seat.
collapsed to the seat in every direction.
Yeah. Yeah, well, there was a boat called the Recon. So the Recon,
Yeah.
we actually went into the mold and shaved the chine. If you have a Recon, you've got two different versions of it. So midway through the launch, we found that the Recons were breaking along the chine edge around the seat. We actually went into the mold and grind down that whole edge and smooth that edge off. And it's a noticeable different boat, noticeably different and no one knows that midway through the Recon was changed because of the fact that edge was too hard and it started cracking
Yeah,
throughout.
I'm the biggest nerd and I didn't know about that. That blew my mind. I can't
Yeah,
believe you
that's
got away with that.
yeah, that's and man, I remember. So I was coming in one day and I was there during that time, and they was like, "Hey, we're taking the Recons down, like all three sides. I can't remember how many sizes, but it's like I wasn't a big fan of the
73,
Recon.
93,
Yeah,
86.
yeah, and the Recon was an okay boat. I mean, I paddled the 83 for a while, and I thought it was an all right boat. I don't know, it was plagued by a lot of weight issues and all that.
Oh
But
my god, heaviest boat
yeah,
in kayaking.
yeah. So yeah, that was another thing. So they gave us two tasks, and they was like, let's lighten the Recon up. We're going to lighten it up, but in the midst, we're going to actually grind that chine down because we've got several warranty issues already. And it was like a major problem. So we ground down the outside chine, and then we took, I don't know if you're familiar what a kiss off is on a rim. If you look at like Jackson does this and Wavesport does it, they have turned in rims, and you make the rim, so the rim instead of
At
like
the
Dagger
party
and
line or at the cockpit rim?
so think of the cockpit rim is
Yeah.
straight out like this, and then like Jackson and like Wavesport, they do something like a turned in rim like that.
Yeah.
So the rim, because they turn those rims in, and then it kisses off what they call a kiss off, where the plastic, and it made the rim was really solid and heavy. It's just way too much. So we went in and started grinding kiss offs off. we started grinding them off trying to, and we got about, I mean, we actually got about 5 pounds out of that boat. That boat was actually five
No
pounds lighter.
way.
And then a few weeks later, a few months later, they killed the whole brand. So it didn't matter. All that work was for nothing anyway.
No
They
way.
sent the brand to Gabo in UK.
So by comparison, like in terms of the kiss offs, like Liquid Logic, their
They don't
cockpit
do
rim
that.
is totally flat versus
Yeah.
a Jackson that's totally rounded. Interesting. So that's for strength.
That's for structure in the rim.
Actually, like give that skirt something to grab onto.
And Wavesport ran their back band through the cockpit rim, and it held it all together. Jackson does that too. They run their back band through the cockpit rim, and they also integrate a thigh hook into that design also, which adds strength to their thigh hooks. So that's how Jackson does that thigh hook, is it adds strength right there.
That's
so there's several
interesting. So Waka must be doing that too, because their thigh hooks are massive.
I'd have to look at one. I can't really remember, but they integrate a thigh hook. They might do like a half one, but they do, if they're doing it, they got to make that kiss off, because if not, it just flexes up. It just flexes up.
That was always my question, is like how they're getting that extra plastic in there. And I kind of assumed they were doing it by having like the Waka decal on it be so highly raised that like it was kind of just sucking.
Yeah, they've got a decal in it. That's right. I really like the old Waka thigh braces. I don't know if you've seen them. Those things were so aggressive. I love the old Waka.
They were the old ballistic ones.
Yeah, those were really good. They were really good.
Did you ever see the ones they had on the playboats?
Like the ballistic, like the rad and all that.
Rads and stuff. So
I don't think
they had two, like each hook, right? You had like the one that was in the boat, and then you had another one, and then an Allen pin holding them, and this massive disclaimer sticker going, "This is how you adjust it. Don't go too far because you're never coming out." And it would rotate past.
Oh wow!
It would rotate all the way like a handcuff.
It would actually cuff inside your thighs like that.
Yeah. So I got in like a kid with like really just chicken legs, and crammed in it, because getting into a ballistic was as hard as, in terms of getting access to one, was as hard as getting to a Waka, right? Not quite as hard, but I never thought I was coming out of that boat ever again. Like I have not been that scared. It was like getting into a squirt boat with less confidence.
Do you it was funny years ago when I was into playboating a lot, do you remember when everybody was adding seat belts to their boats?
Guilty.
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 Terrible idea. I took one of those like the pull on a rescue vest.
That was my idea. Yeah, that was what I used. Yep.
So I ran that through, and that's what I had holding me, help me loop.
Yeah, I had that in a couple boats.
Terrible idea. Terrible idea.
Definitely had that in my Project X that I put a carbon track into. Just while the first rains were coming down in Hurricane Irene, so like it was all like I literally was laying carbon outdoors in the rain, like, come on, baby, big waves are coming.
That's dedication. That's dedication.
And took that thing out in the 20-footers like 5 days later, got smashed by the biggest curtain I've ever seen in my life. Like that thing must have been 5 feet deep. Yeah. Drove me to the bottom of the reef, blew that Klingon skirt just gone, right? And here I am with all that weight still on me. With
your seatbelt on.
No suck back, right. The Klingon is clung to my knees. It's now like wrapped completely, and I couldn't. It was the scariest thing. It took me the longest time to get out of that seatbelt.
Squirming. I bet you were squirming, yanking on things. Oh, man.
And there's nothing you can do. I was postage stamped so bad. I was probably like in the sandbar, like smashed in.
Yeah, so this was out on the ocean. So you're saying you were ocean kayaking. You were out.
Yeah, I was throwing the biggest freestyle of my life in ocean waves.
I've done some hurricane. I got down in one of the hurricanes down in Myrtle Beach or somewhere like that, and it just like one of those hurricanes. It was like some of the worst paddling I'd ever done. I'll never do that ever again. It was scary.
You've never seen big water beatdowns until you're trying to accelerate up something that's coming at you. It's like a squirrel running at a Mack truck.
Yeah, so surfers don't experience that because
No.
they dive under. We have to just ride up, fall over, get work, try to roll. You don't know which side is up. And if you, God forbid, you lose your paddle, you are screwed. You're not hand paddling out of that shit. And then if
No.
you swim, you're probably going to lose
Everything.
your boat forever. That thing going to be beached up in Iceland or something. You'll never see that boat ever again.
Yeah, where I was, it was it was straight across the Atlantic to Portugal. Like that was it.
Yeah.
It was gone. Yeah.
So yeah, you're never going to see it. It's just
No.
going to take it away. You just hope you could survive.
Exactly.